Hey guys, welcome back to a new video on the channel, and आज we will talk about whether WWE 2K25 is worth it or not. And the answer is it's kind of complicated. Let's get into it. Yeah, so this game just got released on the 14th of March and I've been playing it for a few while now, and I have some good thoughts about this game, seriously, and I think it's pretty fun and it's different and not really different from WWE 2K24, which I really loved and covered a lot on this channel back in the day, or really last year. So without further ado, let's talk about the changes I think which are worth it in WWE 2K25. The first good involvement for me was chain wrestling. Yeah, chain wrestling is back in the game. In my experience, if I played for like 15 matches, the chain wrestling occurred for like 3 or 4 against the CPU. It really occurs if both you and your opponent grapple each other at the same time, which is the circle button on the PS5. Then only the entire chain sequence, starts and all that stuff. And then it depends on you whether you want to, keep going with it. You can, have a long chain wrestling classic with your friend, like from the Olympics and stuff. Or whether you can just throw them away and come back with the action and all that stuff. So I think it's a good involvement. I know it's a feature from back in the day, and we should not really appreciate from bringing something back, but it's a good involvement, and we've been missing this feature for a while. Players were talking about chain wrestling again, and whether they wanted it back in the game, so they listened. And chain wrestling is back in WWE 2K25, and it's really fun if it's done right and if you're into it. The second thing which is interesting is intergender matches, obviously. So you can take Rhea Ripley against Dominic Mysterio and completely kick his ass, but that's where the problem starts for me, because apart from Rhea Ripley against Dominic Mysterio, which they have showcased themselves in so many commercials of the game and all that stuff, because that's kind of a real rivalry happening in WWE right now, with Rhea Ripley going against her ex-boyfriend Dominic for cheating on her with Liv Morgan and all that stuff. So it kind of made sense. But apart from that, it's actually kind of difficult, bringing up these big dream matches if you're really a WWE fan. I mean, you can really go Braun Strowman against Zelina Vega and completely make it a David versus Goliath. But yeah, I mean, it's good to have it, and it kind of sucked to have that big gap between both the genders on the roster. So I think it's a good involvement, and not for me really, but good for you, I guess. So yeah, intergender matches are back in the game, and they're fun. The next feature I want to talk about is the third camera in the game, and I think it's pretty awesome. Like back in the day with the 2K24 game, they had that third-person camera, and I used it a lot during my simulation matches and all that stuff I used to post last year, using that third-person camera. I mean, the moves and all that stuff with the third-person camera going from the back of the opponent, taking the Drew McIntyre's claim-out kick from Drew McIntyre, hitting it. I mean, the entire sequence with the way you can work with the camera and play with the camera and all that stuff was very amazing, but I never thought that I needed it in the game, during the gameplay and all that stuff. But it completely changed for me. I mean, with only pressing this right joystick, you can completely control the third person view of the camera and the arenas and the feel and all that stuff that WWE games gives us by making us feel like a WWE superstar. It's actually there, and I think they should have promoted it more, because it really brings the game to life, and all the details and all that stuff which you can't see on the real angle, it completely adds so much to the game. And with the previous cameras and all that stuff, I always felt like it always kept us from the perspective of a spectator, in my opinion. Back in the day, you are watching the show and you're fighting yourself and making your own story and all that stuff. In this one, it really feels like you are that superstar yourself. I don't know, first person in the future and all that stuff. Bring it on, 2K. A really good feature, and I really love it. You might ask, then how are you going to pick up your opponent, or are you going to pin them? For that, you have to press this right stick, and then he will pick up your opponent and do the same and go down. and you'll do the pin. So it's really not that complicated. I think it's a really good feature on the WWE 2K25 game. The next feature I want to talk about is really the entire gameplay. I mean, the gameplay has seen really lot of changes back from the WWE 2K20 days, which were really the dark times from the franchise, to today. But compared to what WWE 2K24 was, there are still not really a lot of things that will keep you in the game. But when it came to the gameplay, the inclusion of you can now, you can jump on top of a barricade and hit your opponent from there. You can use the prime hydration station on the side, the LED symbols on the barricades with raw Netflix clicking all over it, or the random brands and all that stuff on SummerSlam and all that stuff, which really adds to the experience, but it's really not a mind-blowing feature by any means. You can also call in for new paybacks like calling a paparazzi who will distract your opponent, which is kind of fun, and the throwing of the powder, which will infuriate your opponent for I don't know what reason, but it's really funny. And there are small changes in the graphical side of things, like there will be bruises and all that stuff on your opponent after a gruesome match. There will be literal bruises on the chest of your opponent after you hit them with the Gunther chops. Anyway, in my opinion, the inclusion and all that stuff was great and all that stuff, but it's not really a lot if you already have a copy of WWE 2K24. If you're really into Bloodline and all that stuff, so yeah, the Bloodline showcase is good. But I still don't like showcase really. I just play them on easy and I just tend to finish them to unlock new characters and stadiums and all that stuff, to be real with you. Because the idea of, following a script, which is kind of the idea of WWE. But anyway, following the script and all that stuff doesn't go well with me. That you have to go to the northeast side of the corner and hit your opponents. But yeah, from 2K24 to 2K25, there are inclusion of commentary, and commentary is in showcase, which is good. But to be honest, the showcase modes doesn't speak to me, and it really lacks depth and all that stuff. So if you're into it, go for it. But don't buy this game just for the showcase, really. The next thing I want to talk about is the universe mode and all that stuff. You get to play as both a female and a male wrestler at the same time in this new universe mode. It is not a separate story, it is a single story and all, and it's good, it's fine, the promos and all that stuff. I mean, a good inclusion to the game. They can build up on it, but to be right now it really lacks depth and all that stuff. So a good feature to add, but nothing really mind-blowing. As far as the community creations, there are good creations out there right now. Players are doing their job, and it's good up till now. Let's see what they come up with in the future with the new barricades and all that stuff in the stadium and all, and with the third-person camera. There can be a lot of things that can be done with this, so it can keep you in the game for a while, but really depends on the future. So yeah, the final question: is WWE 2K25 worth it? I mean, if you have a 2K22 or a 2K23, then definitely go for it. If you have a 2K24, I'll say, wait for it. Wait for a few months. Well, there's content you can go to, and things that can keep you in the game, and whether the community creations are as good as they were on this. Otherwise, just wait for a sale. It will be cheap in a few months, and then you can just go to the next game. Yeah, with that said, if you like this video, then do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Lots of things coming up for it. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, acknowledge me.